Fire them up. Fire them up. Yep, that's what we're doing today on the Andrew Gosser Show. We're firing them up right here on 103.9 WYAB. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up our 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Greatly appreciate it. Follow me on X at Andrew Gosser, ANDREW GASSER. Appreciate it. All the stories that I use on the show, I put up there so that way you can fact check me. Just like when people send me stuff, I fact check them. How do I fact check? Well, I'll run it through the Google checker, and I'll also use my AI to try to validate it. And you should too. If you want to be part of the program today, the number is 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. Always appreciate the texters texting in. Even when I'm on the show with Clay, getting feedback, appreciate that. We'll try to get to that a little bit later on in the show. But no matter what, the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show always stays the same. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. And today's proverb goes out to every politician and every talk show radio host, especially me. Whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens it wider and his lips comes to certain ruin. Yep, there are a lot of politicians who went to bat for somebody like Eric Swalwell, and now those chickens are coming home to roost. And we have lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Trump and the Pope. We will continue to do coverage of what's going on in the Persian Gulf, having 4 major combat deployments over there. I get it. We need to keep up to date with that. And we'll also talk about local politics as well. I think it's important that we keep the region, but my goal is to sit here and try to take these global issues and condense them down to where we can use them as learning tools and lessons right here in Mississippi. With that, we've got to start off with Eric Swalwell and all the craziness that's going on there. No, I'm not going to play the video of him making out with some adult entertainer / worker. That's not who I am. But I do appreciate people saying, hey, did you see this? Yeah, I saw about 2 seconds of it, and that's all I needed to see. Cheating on his wife. I mean, he hooked up with a Chinese foreign spy, Fang, and he was still able to serve in Congress for over 6 years. On Monday, Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell of California announced his resignation from Congress, ending his 7-term tenure, 14 years, following multiple sexual assault allegations that prompted bipartisan calls for him to step down. Don't you remember all those bipartisan calls to step down? Republicans screaming at the top of their lungs, hey, he needs to go away. We've got a problem here. There seems to be that there's some problem with congressmen and women. Let's not let the women off the hook here. Congressmen and women not being able to control themselves carnally. And we're now just all of a sudden, the evidence is just so strong against Swalwell that, oh, he's got to go. He's got to go. Nancy, what say you?
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to or what the allegations were.
That is absolutely positive. And it's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not true.
You had no idea?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
What happens in California now? He was in many of the polls, the leading candidate.
Yes, he was.
That's gone. There's an army of...
Oh, we got to talk about that. So Nancy says she was completely clueless about what Eric was doing. All the allegations of Fang hooking up with a Chinese spy, hooker, whatever you want to call it. Do you believe Nancy, who is single-handedly monetized Congress better than any other U.S. politician in the history of the House? Do you think that she's not that aware of what's going on around her, where she's controlling multi-hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in budget deals? And Democrats are just now finding out about this abhorrent behavior? Look, there are Republicans too. We haven't gotten to them yet, mostly because there's a big document that's floating over the world. It's not even the United States or the Republican Party, but it's floating out over the world. And we all know what it is. We all know what that word is. I won't say it right now. Kash Patel has come out on X and invited Mr. Swalwell to come in and talk to the FBI. Now that he's no longer a member of Congress, nothing to hide. Also looking for tips. The walls are closing in around Mr. Swalwell. I don't wish him ill health or anything like that, but I do want him to be held accountable for what he did. Because it just seems to me, and I don't know if it seems like this to you, but there are a lot of politicians out there who aren't held accountable for what they do. They feel like they get elected, and it's not just like a congressman or a senator. It's judges, it's state reps, it's state senators, it's sheriffs. They get elected into these positions, and then they just feel invincible, and they just start acting the fool. Meanwhile, you and me, back at the farm, back at the ranch, we go 7 miles over the speed limit in a 45, and we're getting pulled over. Rules for thee, but not for me. Absolutely terrible. They're also talking about a Republican stepping down. Well, let me get back to the Swalwell. I didn't even get through the first 2 sentences. Does this make you feel any better, ladies and gentlemen? The San Francisco Chronicle reported Friday that a woman accused Swalwell of sexual assault in 2019 and 2024, which Swalwell denies the allegations, but apologized for mistakes in judgment on social media. Does that make it better? Should he be held criminally to account for what he did? Does it make better that he apologizes on social media? Unions like California Teachers Association and lawmakers, including Nancy Pelosi, withdrew their support for his run for governor in California. Now there's this woman named Katie. I don't know her last name, but she literally wears a Batman costume to public meetings. And she's Kate Porter, I think is her name. And she's leading the race for governor in California over Gavin Newsom. It's absolutely appalling where America culture has gone and where it's taken us. What is the wildest, most crazy thing we can do? Great, let him run for governor of California. Luckily, we don't have that problem here in Mississippi yet. I personally like Mississippi in the way we kind of move slowly on things. I think we should move quickly on certain motivations, on certain issues. But I think we're also hypocritical on a lot of stuff too. We just don't want to admit it. Democrat Representative Primala Jayapal said, "We believe women," and urged both Swalwell and Tony Gonzalez to resign, highlighting broader accountability and several misconduct allegations across both parties in Congress. Yep, I didn't talk about Gonzalez yet. I got a whole litany of stuff on him. But since you bring it up, we could talk about it. Republican Tony Gonzalez of Texas says he will retire after admitting to affair with a staffer. I'll tell you what, you get elected to some position of power, and you can bet your bottom dollar that women are going to be attracted to the power. And Gonzalez was endorsed by everybody in the main Republican Party, the blue blood party, the what I would call the leadership wing of the party. On Monday, GOP Representative Tony Gonzalez announced his retirement from Congress, effective when Congress returns tomorrow. So now Republicans are down another seat, but Swalwell's down another seat. See how this works? You see, this is why I can't get mad at people who say there's a uniparty. Democrat loses one, Republican loses one. Funny how that works. It's like they're washing each other's back. They're checking each other, making sure everything runs the same. Facing potential expulsion from Congress, Gonzalez admitted last month of an extramarital affair with a staffer who died by suicide last year. Yikes. Is this maybe why they didn't want to have these records come out in public? Is that why the Republicans fought that so hard? Authorities determined that Regina Santos Alves was alone when she caught fire on September 13th though her family insists the incident was an accident. I mean, setting yourself on fire, that's got to be the worst way to go. Shortly after Democrat Eric Swalwell resigned on Monday, Gonzalez announced his departure, compounding departures from Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to go to the commercial break, whether you're on the left or the right, can we admit that our elected officials need to go? They do. Congressman, senator has become a job that it was never intended to be as our founding fathers framed the Constitution. And we can either go back to that Constitution and run the country the way it was, which was much better than it is now, or we can just ditch the Constitution and just go by what feels good. What's trending on TikTok or X or Insta. There is so much more to this. And these are just two congressmen. Well, I wouldn't say low tier. I'd say mid tier. Somewhere in the middle tier of congressmen. Imagine what would happen if those Epstein files actually came out. All the senators, all the congressmen, not all of them, but I'm saying just the people who are on that list. We'd have at least 25% turnover in Congress immediately. And then the presidents who are potentially on that list. There's so much there. We've gotten so corrupted that even people who are just casually watching are saying, yeah, it's time for a change. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our first commercial break. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. 601-879-0002 is the phone number, and 601-879-5060 is the text number. You know, I can sit here and we're all preaching to the choir when it comes to these Congress critters just screwing life up, bringing in their own personal problems into public service. It happens. It happens almost to everybody, whether it's a fight at home over dinner or some sick congressman having an orgy on a boat. It's out there. But I want to talk about another thing that is specifically affecting MAGA, although it does affect Democrats too, but it really affects MAGA. And it is this righteous indignation that's out there. And I don't know how to cover it other than to call it Trump Jesus. And because my phone, this is like the biggest issue that I'm getting in my circle of friends, and I'm just sitting here saying, really? I literally have 3 of my friends who voted for Trump all 3 times, said they wish they would have voted for Kamala after this latest meme. And I'm just sitting there wondering, anger, when you get mad like that, it doesn't allow you to think clearly. And so to my 3 friends, and you know who you are, you said you were gonna tune in and listen today, like you usually do, and you're welcome to call in if you still wanna defend this on the air. But really put yourself in the situation right now with everything that's going on in the world. Would you really want Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as president and vice president? Clay the other day couldn't believe me when I said that she could potentially win. There are people who say they're MAGA, and I have no reason not to believe them. When they're making decisions like that over a meme. And for me personally, if you remember on this show when it came out, I was like, that doesn't look like the Jesus. It doesn't even look like the Pope. It looks like a cardinal or a bishop. Now Trump's come out and given his song and dance about what he was trying to accomplish and what he was trying to do. And yep, I get it. That's what a politician is going to do. But my goodness gracious. We're all over the place, MAGA. And maybe that's by design, maybe, decentralized control, decentralized execution. Got different cells all over, people who support MAGA down in Southern Hinds County, people who support MAGA, Northern Hinds County, all over the place. We all have our own opinions on that, and I'm okay with that. But this is like a free get out of jail card for the liberal left, the Democrats, and everybody who wants to do America harm. Cynical Publius, who is a definite follow on X, just posted this he posted this yesterday, but I just saw it now, and it's right, because this is how I feel. I'm disgusted beyond belief at the people who suddenly are acting pious for political reasons when they have forever locally supported murdering the unborn children by the bushel. All of a sudden, you're high and pious over this picture of Trump. Nuns being persecuted for adhering to doctrines of the Catholic Church. Where were you then? There wasn't a meme out there then. The mutilation of confused children to satisfy their parents' needs. Yep. Where were you then? Because Trump was definitely against the mutilation of children, and Kamala and Tim were for it. But you're telling me now you would wanted to vote for Kamala over a meme. Where are you? Woo woo. Harsh criticism of any Trump administration official who favorably mentions God or Jesus. That's what gets me about a couple of you MAGAs. And I am by no way, shape, matter, form, nature, relationship saying Trump is saved or is otherwise a godly man, because Lord knows he's got his faults. But all of a sudden, it's like these people are reciting psalms to me over a meme. Ending the religious assembly of churchgoers during COVID. You were quiet during that. Hatred for the most orthodox, intellectual, and Catholic of recent popes, Pope Benedict. And this is where I had problems with Pope Benedict. I have no problems. I know many Catholics who did. But you were silent then. You didn't complain about it when Trump was going at it with Pope Benedict. Silence of the murder of 30,000 plus Persians by the Iranian mullahs and violent murder of persecution of Christians in large swaths of the Muslim world, like Nigeria. Where were you then? Oh, you pious and righteous people. I didn't hear a peep out of you, and I'm following you on social media. I have absolutely, after this segment, I'm not going to talk about that meme anymore. It was a meme. Would I have done that meme? No. Would I have done said something silly like that in the past? I probably have. I talk about it all the time on here, different mistakes I've made. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah.
I think the problem on the conservative side of things is too often we let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
I hear so much we expect so much perfection out of Trump. We're not going to get it because he's not perfect. And even if you look back in history, like George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, neither were they. They were skeletons in their closets, but they've done so much good for the country. So we have to kind of take what good we can get. I mean, do I like everything Trump does? No, but I like a lot of stuff that Trump does and knew it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been there.
Exactly. And I think...
And so, I mean, we have to kind of learn to take it as we can get it.
So what would you say to those people who said they were MAGA and voted for Trump and now they're not going to do it over the meme? What would you tell them?
Then we're just giving our vote over. If you don't vote, it's a vote for the opposition. And the Democrats aren't Democrats anymore. They're socialist communists. And so when they get in power, it's all holes barred in their push for the socialist communist agenda. I mean, you look at the state of Minnesota, and it's like California too, but you look at like Tim Walz's state and look at the fraud that transpired there with the Somalis and that he turned the other eye. Look at, they're passing gun control and assault weapons bans right now, even though there's Supreme Court decisions that says it's unconstitutional before they even introduce it.
Yep.
They've got a bill right now, and I'm an old car person, that if you have a classic car, you can only drive it on weekends during the day. That's how totalitarian they are. Do we really want that for the rest of the country?
I don't think so, but not sure that most Mississippians are paying attention to that like you are. I'm grateful for you.
I mean, do you know that I saw this morning, Nick Shirley exposed a lot of the fraud in Minnesota and California.
Oh, yes.
There was a Congress lady in California who proposed a bill. This is the Stop the Nick Shirley Act.
I have
Can
it.
you believe?
Yeah, dude, I've actually got that in the stack of stuff. I'll get to it in the next segment, but keep going because this is the kind of tough conversations that we as conservatives have to agree with, or have that debate.
And right now they're passing this stuff in blue states. I mean, they have a no kings protest and then vote for kings. I don't understand it. And once they get in power, it's worse than what a king would ever do, because even a king needs the consent of the governed. They don't care. I mean, it's and they have so many brainwashed people in their states that there's no accountability. It's a one-party state. California, Minnesota, Maine, you name it. One-party state. No checks and balances, and that's what a king does. I don't want checks and balances. That's what they've got there. That's what they want. And see, we in like little old Mississippi think, well, it'll never happen here. There's too many good old rednecks, so we won't let it happen here. Well, what are they saying in Virginia right now?
Yep.
Virginia, if they get the referendum passed, it will be a one-party state, and they've already passed enough gun control that their gun laws are worse than California. Good old conservative red state Virginia, the home of Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, is now blue as blue can be, especially if they get the referendum passed. I mean, so we need to wake up and think what they're doing in these states, they want to do nationally. So if we don't wake up and push back, we're gonna get what they got.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why I bring up these stories from out of state, because I want us to have, one, have visibility on it here, but two, encourage people to actually run for local office, to be those school board members, the county board members. Because if not, man, we're in trouble. I'll give you the last word, my friend.
I just, kind of pick the sore spot, and people just need to wake up. That's all I can say.
Well, sir, I really appreciate the phone call, and I hope you call back again, man.
Okay, no, sir. Yes, sir. You have a great day.
Have a blessed one. Calls like that are why I do the stories I do. Because we need to be out there. All of us need to be coming together thinking about what we're really saying publicly. And some of these people who are just so distraught and distressed over this meme, I think we can get it, especially and now that I think about it a little more, all of us are a little bit older. We're not a millennial or a Gen Zer. We're either a senior X or even a boomer, because we were just brought up, you just don't talk like that. But look, these younger generations, their filters are completely gone. Social media has completely stripped away any filter that you thought you might have had on your child or on your niece or nephew or your grandchild. They're gone. These kids are just going to say what they're going to say, and they don't realize that there are consequences. There are certain groups of people who are learning there are consequences for going online. The poor ladies who went into the life of OnlyFans and now all of a sudden can't find a husband, or they do find a husband and are having a kid, and their kids are having to find out that their mom had a interesting choice of work back in the day. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yep, we're back at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, moving and grooving on this Tuesday morning. It's beautiful outside. Wasn't beautiful outside last night at my chief political advisor's house. Pretty windy up north. If you want to be part of the show, 601-879-0002. Text line is open, 601-879-5060. I got this text from an unknown texter, and this is definitely a pious person or someone who studies the word. Andrew, the devil won yesterday. The evil folks at the Vatican put that guy in to get at Trump. He was a surprise and didn't deserve the position. I would be curious to know whether or not you're Catholic yourself. I've never shied away from this. I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic university, but I'm just a follower. So I always put that out there. And that's a debate that any of us can have if we want to go down there. But I find it a little bit more. I can take that I'm never going to vote for MAGA or Trump again if they're Catholic and they feel offended in that way. But people who aren't spiritual or are not following any faith at all, and they get all upset over this, I find it disingenuous, almost hypocritical, and laughable. It's not a good look for either one of them. That's a fact. And I think that's quite truthfully where a lot of people, and I'll lump myself into this, where we're just like, why? Why do that? There's absolutely no meme needed. Maybe President Trump feels that the news media is, actively working to censor all the good stuff he's doing. And we'll talk about Iran in the next hour. I want to keep those texts in conversations to the next hour. I was sent this video posted by Mays, and this is 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the mainstream media just defending Eric Swalwell. I mean, it's horrible. And you know what? I was going to play it, but I'm not even going to, because we already know that they're cooked. The mainstream media is cooked nationally. It's cooked locally. And that guy brought it up. Let me type this in, because that guy brought it up. The Nick Shirley Act. This is coming from Eric Doherty. Great follow on X. Make sure that you find people and sources of news who aren't the retweet bros, who actually post their own journalism. Nick Shirley is so effective at that Gavin Newsom's California now wants to pass the Stop Nick Shirley Act. A California assembly member is warning this criminalizes true investigative journalism. That's exactly what they said. California Democrats are trying to intimidate citizen watchdog journalists and protect waste and fraud and happening from the far left wing NGOs. That's true. We had a private watchdog group investigate Algonquin Township Road District. It was so corrupt, they had this one whole article called Time Card Tuesdays, where you could see the highway commissioner's wife getting paid 82 hours of work, but not showing where the work was done, where she wasn't even time clocking in. We found years of missing time cards, which you can get rid of them after so long. You just say, okay, it's been 6 years, no file, gone. California Democrats advanced the Stop Nick Shirley Act to criminalize investigative journalism. And this is coming from Carl DiMaio. Could you imagine? We would not be where we're at right now in the United States of America if it wasn't for Nick Shirley. We wouldn't know about all of the hospice centers in California. We wouldn't know about any of the daycare and autism centers in Minnesota. we just simply wouldn't know about it if it wasn't for private journalism, citizen journalism, government watchdogs. Look, it never bothered me, honestly, being investigated. I didn't like the fact that the local newspaper always framed it in a bad way, but they'd ask for stuff, I'd always get it to them right away. You know, they were terrible. It was great for their ratings. They would write completely salacious and false things about me. They'd sell their newspapers, and everybody, "Can you believe that crap?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, why are you buying it?" The guy, oh, the need for real journalism, local investigative journalism, that goes after and does the really hard things. That's why I was so shocked, as many of you were as well, when CBS started investigating the hospices in California, completely legitimized everything that Nick Shirley did. Well, we can't have that happen, so we gotta have the Stop Nick Shirley Act in California. That will surely be appealed and, again, go up to the Supreme Court, and as long as we have a conservative Supreme Court, we have nothing to fear. But the socialists are so strong now. They're not, like that last caller said, they're not Democrats, they're socialists. They'll just pack the court, and the Stop Nick Shirley Act will become law across the land, and then people won't be able to report on stuff. And it'd be one thing, if Nick didn't have it on video, but he had it on video. It's undeniable. What's that say about your side of the aisle if you're on the left, if you wanna stop people like Nick Shirley? As far as I'm concerned, if Nick Shirley found somebody on the right doing that stuff, fry them too. But that's not how it works in today's society. Left, good, right, bad. Anybody but Orange Man bad. I completely admit I voted for Trump 3 times. I'd do it again if it was legal. I wouldn't change any of my votes for Trump. Are there things that he does that I sometimes don't appreciate? Absolutely. Am I gonna change the way I think about him because of it? No. We've accomplished way too much. We've got way too much done, and just go back over the last year and a half of the things that we've accomplished. Now, we could have gotten a lot more done if we wouldn't have had a certain attorney general out there dragging her feet on the Epstein files, but that's a whole nother show. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. You know, I was talking about Ilhan Omar and all of her Somali fraud. Do you know she just tried to commit more fraud in a bill? This is coming from Right Angle News Network on X, and I'm just going to play this clip here real quick because this is just infuriating.
One of our spending bills making its way through Congress was a $1 million earmark from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, which was an earmark that was supposedly going to a substance abuse clinic, which actually happened to be housed in a restaurant and run by 3 individuals that share the same residential address, according to their IRS paperwork.
Now, how the hell is that even legal? She submitted a bill. It's a public document, put it in the spending bill for $1 million. People wonder how she went from $800,000 in debt to $35 million in the black. She needs to go. You know, it's almost like we need a new amendment to the Constitution. You must be born in the United States to be a sitting U.S. senator or Congress person. It's required because there's something like 30 international congressmen in Congress right now. I want to finish this bit before we get to the top of the hour.
Tons of red flags. So this is what we saw with the fraud involving the daycare centers. Now we see other earmarks coming directly from members of Congress where it seems fraud is being perpetrated as well. So I raised the issue, and fortunately, the House has now stripped that earmark out of that spending bill.
And thank God for that. But I don't know who this congressman is. And Right Angle News Network posted that video. That's who I'm attributing it to because that's where it came from. I don't know if they ripped it from another news source. It's hard for me to tell. But the point being is that we have congressmen and congresswomen out there who are ripping us off, and it's $1 million. Oh, it's just $1 million. When you're dealing with billions and trillions of dollars, a single $1 million, that just gets pushed to the side. That's light work. You know, that's not a big deal. At some point, we've got to get out there and just start holding them accountable. You know, we need to start a new thing, congressmen in cuffs. That should not even. I just don't understand how that's even legal. It's beyond my brain. I could not imagine myself doing that. I'm thinking about all my friends who regulars on the show. I can't see any of them doing that. Look, in the next hour, we're going to talk about Iran, the blockade, the George H.W. Bush, the Fords, the Abe Lincoln, and everything going on over there. Stay tuned. You are tuned to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And welcome back to hour 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up our 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 103.9 WYAB, like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Appreciate that. Also, you can follow me on X at Andrew Gosser, ANDREW GASSER. The phone line, if you want to call in today, 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. Wise words, Proverbs 21:23. Andy, you should take that advice more often. Yeah, but I work for a living on the radio. Well, watch your tongue anyway. Okay. I'm telling you what, I've said this so many times. We are in a civil war. The judges are declaring war on us, the citizens of the United States of America. And there's no better face for the maliciousness, the contempt, the disdain for the American citizen than Judge Boasberg in the Washington, D.C. circuit. And this is just breaking, too. That's why I love this time slot. It allows me to go ahead and inform you all. Appeals court orders judge to end contempt investigation of Trump administration deportation flights. Do you remember when we were deporting that guy to El Salvador? He was going to the CTEP prison down there, whatever it's, CCOT prison down there. And we had to pull him out of there and fly him back because of this ignoramus judge. Well, it took a year and a half, but guess what? He got overruled, ladies and gentlemen. This is coming from an Associated Propaganda. It's so bad that even the AP had to pick it up. A federal judge must end his intrusive, and that's in quotes, intrusive contempt investigation of the Trump administration for failing to comply with an order to turn around planes carrying Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador last year. A divided appeals court panel ruled Tuesday. Yep, and that's how this always works. The appeals court, there's always divided opinion. It's rarely ever 100%. Chief Judge James Boasberg, hater of America, abused his discretion for forging ahead with a criminal contempt proceedings over the March 2025 deportation flights, according to the majority opinion by a 3-judge panel from the U.S. Appeals Court of the District of Columbia. President Trump's administration has had a clear and indisputable right to the termination of the contempt proceedings, Circuit Judge Naomi Rao wrote for the court's majority opinion. Now, it should be noted that Rao was appointed by President Trump, and there was Boasberg was appointed by President Barack Obama. So you can see what's happening here. We're not in a society anymore of even who votes wins. It's who gets the most of their side's judges in positions of power to rule on these things, which is what the plan was against President Trump from the moment he got in. Just muck it all up in the legal system. Look, this was March 2025. This has been dragging on for over a year and a month. The average American has an attention span of about 23 seconds thanks to Reels, Shorts, and TikTok. Think about it. How many people had this on the back of their minds? I know that maybe listeners in this audience have it a little bit more on the front of their mind because I rage against it so often. But these judges who wear black robes, and this judge, I mean, you just don't get to be a federal judge by being lazy. You have to have some sense of intelligence to get there. Even if it's just the intelligence to work the system, like Ketanji Brown Jackson. She knew how to work the system. He had to know that this was going to get overturned, but he did it anyway. Why? Because he knew that somewhere down the line, even though it would be overturned, someone else would remember him. This guy will get promoted to the appeals court next time there's a Democrat president in there. And this is why it's so important to elect good congressmen and to elect good senators. Andrew, why you talk about Congress? Congress doesn't approve the judges, the Senate does. Yeah, but the Congress approves the funding for those courtrooms. If the Republicans had any stones, they would pull the funding for Judge Boasberg in a minute. Brother Bruce, hey, look, squirrel. I know I was supposed to talk Iran, but this just broke and it's too big of a story not to pay attention to. Iran still be there. These judges, and even Clay sees it. Clay Edwards in the morning show was talking about some of these judges here locally. It's why we have to fight to get people on the bench that are actually going to follow the Constitution and read the Constitution for the way it was meant to be read, not the way you want it to feel. It feels good to win, but it doesn't mean that it was the right thing to do. Just ask Eric Swalwell or Representative Gonzalez. I'm sure it felt right, but it was wrong. In this day and age of instantaneous gratification and go on to the next crazy story, it's hard to not pay attention to stuff like this. But these are the kind of things that we need to plant our flag in the field and say, we win. And this judge should be removed from the bench. And unlike the violent political left, I don't want anything bad to happen to this judge physically. I don't need anybody doing what the Democrats do to us, where the Democrats send out their mobs to Supreme Court justices' houses, and the Commonwealth of Virginia doesn't deploy its state troopers right away. Dogfish says those corrupt judges should be put in prison with the rough crowd. Yeah, Judge Boasberg might like the rough crowd. Just look at the intensity in his eyes. My goodness. Well, that's about enough with Judge Boasberg. I wanted to talk about Iran, and we've got 5 minutes here, so let's shift gears and talk about Iran. As we know, the President of the United States has put a complete and full blockade on Iran in the Straits of Hormuz. No one's getting in, no one's getting out. Now, if you listen to the top of the hour break, you heard that a couple ships did get out. They did load up and exit. And it's just my opinion on this. This is just my opinion. But those were Chinese vessels getting stuff out of Iran that the Chinese didn't want to have anywhere near there. And President Trump was doing Xi Jinping a solid and saying, get the hell out of here. What we know today, there are 2 carrier battle groups on station down there. There's no one getting in. Someone might try to sneak out of the Persian Gulf, but no one's getting in with 2 battle groups there. You got the Abe Lincoln, which still has a few months left on her deployment, so she's all right. And you've got the Ford, the Gerald Ford, that I think is going on its 8th or 9th month of deployment. That is a long, long time. And when that ship gets home, it's going to need to be repaired with the laundry fire burning right next to the bulkhead of the berthing area. It's going to need all sorts of repairs. It's going to need everything. The George H.W. Bush did not go through the Mediterranean and through the Suez Canal to go by the Houthis. It went around the Horn of Africa. I can tell you that added probably a week and a half of steam time. My opinion on that. I'm not a ship driver, so I can't do that. I just rode across the Mediterranean and around the world a few times to know. But it's my opinion that when the George H.W. Bush gets there, Ford will go home. We also know that there are at least 2 destroyers in the Persian Gulf monitoring Iran's loading stations. And the truth is that there's no one in there now trying to go and grab oil from Iran. It's crippling Iran for somewhere between $400 million and $450 million per day. We are strangling the money supply for the worldwide terror network. But the mainstream media won't tell you that. Oh, no. They'll get some sympathetic pawn on there and give them airtime to talk about how things are struggling, how things are tough in Iran. You can't even go to Iran to do a report. Could you imagine having a Nick Shirley report from the streets of Tehran, Iran? The amount of just filth, squalor, misery, tyranny that he would record. Mainstream media doesn't want that. That's why the Iranian Islamic Republic of Iran allowed CNN into their country to do the reporting, because CNN will censor itself. Oh, you don't want us to put anything out bad? Okay, we'll run it through your censors before we put it out to the Americans. I continue to say we do need a free and fair press, but our press is not free. It's bought and paid for, and it's certainly not fair. Although, what is fair? I still haven't came up with a good solution for that. What is free, and I guess to a certain amount fair, is X, where people can put their opinions, and if you're BSing, you'll find out about it. And when we get back from this break, we're going to talk about a post that was sent to me no less than 20 times yesterday in my inbox. And we're going to talk about it right here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Let's do it. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And the anti-Semitism that's out there right now, the distrust for Israel, how I'm seeing more and more people say it's okay to go ahead and do things to the Jewish people. Look, I'm not for Israel. I'm not against Israel. What I am for is the truth, and this is making the rounds. And I don't know how this guy made it, but this is just goes to show you how good some of this is. And this is coming from TikTok. I got this from, like I said 20, but that's not true. It was actually 17. But the thing is that this is going around, and young kids are seeing this, and they're believing this garbage.
This is word for word, verbatim, from the Jerusalem Post by Benjamin Netanyahu in 1990. If we get caught, they will just replace us with a person from the same cloth. So it doesn't matter what you do. America is a golden calf, and we will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off piece by piece until there is nothing left but the world's biggest welfare state that we create and control. Why? Because it's God's will. And America is big enough to take the hit, so we can do it again and again and again. This is what we do to the countries that we hate. We destroy them very slowly, but we make them suffer for refusing to be our slave.
Yep. How many millions of people have heard that video? And it's absolutely false. Not a word of it is true. Don't believe me? Here, let's go do my research. My research is Grok, ChatGPT, Google, and Bing, which is the Internet Explorer version of Google. And I'm just going to read you what Grok told me, but I've got different parts that I'm going to piece in here. And I feel I need to spend this much time on it because if good people are believing this, then the level of violence that's going to be ratcheted up around this place is not. But that video is completely 100% propaganda. And what I did is I looked specifically for the Jerusalem Post, and I put in that text to the text that writer was saying, and no one could find it in either Google or Bing. People could say, well, they purposely deleted it. Well, that could be, but you can't find it. No, the specific claim in the post is not truthful. It appears to reference or promote a debunked or unverified quote/claim attributing to strong anti-American or conspiratorial statements to Netanyahu from the early 1990s. Yeah, I'll tell you what, there are things to be ticked off over Israel about. The USS Liberty comes to mind. There are reasons to be hateful for, to be angry about, not hateful, but angry, righteous indignation, righteous anger. Netanyahu, who has made many public statements over the decades on U.S.-Israel relations, terrorism, and Middle East policy, some controversial, some not so much. He invoked Jesus' name a little while ago, and people wanted to make big heyday out of that. Remember that? That lasted all of 35 seconds too. What's the next thing coming? However, the viral 1990s era clip quote highlighted in the post above typically distorts, fabricates, or takes out of context his words to portray him as overtly despising America. No credible source 1990 article or verified transcript supports the extreme version commonly shared on these in these contexts. So he has a book out, and he is critical of America. And he understands that, look, America is Israel's friend and ally, but, you know, our friends and allies are friends and allies one day, and the next day they're not. England comes to mind. France comes to mind. Well, France, you never count on them. They got tanks with 16 gears, 1 forward, 1 neutral, and 14 in reverse. Netanyahu has long advocated for close United States-Israel ties, often crediting America as a key ally against common threats, which leads me perfectly into the story that no one seems to want to talk about. CNN don't want to talk about it. ABC doesn't want to talk about it. MS Now / BS Always doesn't want to talk about it. ABC, NBC, CBS, no one. For the first time since 1983, Israel and the state of Lebanon are having direct talks right now in Washington, D.C., with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, presiding. Why? Israel is bombing the crap out of Lebanon right now. Why would Lebanon want to open up talks with a country that's bombing the hell out of them, specifically in southern Lebanon? So much so that Apple Maps has removed all the towns off of their map app. We talked about that yesterday. Why is Lebanon doing this? It's because Lebanon hates Hezbollah and Hamas and Islamic Jihad just as much as Israel does. And those terrorist organizations have completely infiltrated Lebanon, the good people of Lebanon. And the citizens of Lebanon do not want the foreign fighters of Hezbollah, Hamas, and Islamic Jihad in their freaking country. And they're working together to get rid of them. Lebanon does not have an air force. Israel does. I mean, what's it going to, when it comes out that Lebanon was feeding targets to the Israelis to get rid of certain leaders in Hamas and Hezbollah and whoever else? What's that really going to say? This can't happen. It is happening, but this can't happen to the liberal left. If it comes out that Israel and Lebanon have real peace, and it's because of President Trump, you're going to have just complete pandemonium on the political left. This is what happens when you cut off the money. This is what happens when you cut off the blood, the life's blood of global terrorism by proxy. Andrew, the United States wasn't at war with Iran. We've been at war with Iran since the day they took over our embassy. And those rascals have been screaming death to America this whole time. They're at war with us. You might not think you're at war. You're too busy hanging out at the theme park, on the beach. Too busy crawfish fishing, hunting. You're too busy living your own life here in the United States to realize what the heck's going on around the world globally. They've been at war with us. They have systematically and methodically marched across Europe. Not even debatable. Now, all of a sudden, countries that were like, oh, that's not so bad, are like starting to realize, hey, we got to deport all these foreign fighters that are in our country. We've played the videos of the clerics saying that they don't want peace. But Lebanon does. By the way, if you go back and look at pictures of Lebanon, beautiful country before Islam took over. Free country, beautiful beach. Beirut was awesome. My first cruise, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was from Lebanon. He was an aviation storekeeper on the USS America, VF 102. We pulled into Haifa, Italy, and he had some friends that he went and saw. We have been so conditioned. We have been so brainwashed. We see something that we agree with, and we immediately like it, heart it, friend it, share it, tweet it, TikTok it, Insta it. And it's just getting quicker and quicker and quicker. There'll be a day here. I bet you it's by the end of the year that we will be completely unable to tell what is AI and what is not AI. It's getting really good. And the companies that are out there right now that are in the lead in AI, they're going to end up losing the AI race. I'm telling you that right now. Because there's different ways that AI works. One is through API. You create an API, And another way to do it is visually, cameras, and just looking visually at different things and learning how to use the cameras to think. There's a company out there that's doing it that way. All the rest, nope. They're eating up the power, they're drinking up all the water. You've got cities in Wisconsin right now that have completely lost most of their water due to these data centers. I had a clip, it was 7.5 minutes long, and it had music on it, and I just didn't wanna play it. I tried to chop it up, and I appreciate the person who sent me the video because they're against having the AI data centers here in the States or in Mississippi, specifically Madison. And let's put out a bold prediction in 5 years. Today is, April 14th, 2026, so hopefully I'm around on April 14th, 2030. Let's see how those data centers in Madison are doing. If not, space-based data centers don't start taking over. The compute, they call it compute power now. It's not computation anymore. That's so 1980s and 1990s. It's compute. The amount of compute power being drained by AI is growing exponentially. And I'm grateful and thankful for the jobs that it's bringing here to Mississippi and the income that's coming, but we see the money coming in, but do we see where the water's coming from? Do we see where the power's coming from? And I don't think it's illogical or wrong to question, "Hey, how are we gonna power this? How are we gonna get the water here?" Water rates up in Madison County, watch them. Electric rates all over Mississippi, well, everybody will watch their electric rate. But when we get back, we'll talk a little bit about space-based AI and what potentially is coming down the road. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. So to get there, I have to go here. I know we're talking AI, compute power, and how we're going to generate that. But we first have to start here. And where is here, you ask? Driver education to become mandatory in all Mississippi schools. This is cut by Jeremy over at Magnolia Tribune. Always like trying to give them a shout out when I can, when it fits this show. And in this case, it fits the show. Starting in July, all Mississippi high schools will be required to provide a driver's education program, a requirement that pairs with the additional legislative demand that all first-time driver's license seekers show proof of that training. Yep, the sweet toots. She's 17. She's been driving for a while, but if I'm being truthful with y'all, I can't remember if her school was private or public. I can't remember how that driving went, but it's just shocking to me that we have to mandate it in school. Driving is such a huge part of Americana. It's what is the life's blood of our liberty and freedom. It's our ability to go and travel where we want to go without our papers. Although some people would say your license is a paper, then other people would argue that your right to drive really isn't a right, but it's a privilege. And we can go down and argue that argument till the cows come home, per se. The new requirement is part of provisions outlined in Senate Bill 2695 from the 2024 legislative session, which states that all districts are to, quote, shall establish and maintain a driver's education and training program for pupils in grades 9 to 12. And that just makes me wonder how they're going to exactly fund that. I wonder how that's going to work in Hinds County compared to somewhere like Madison or Rankin or Warren or Yazoo or Copiah. Is because, I mean, if every school has to have a program, or it's just every student at the schools? Will certain high schools link up together to be able to provide that program? How's that going to work? But I say that to say this. Tesla and Elon Musk have just released FSD version 14.3, April 2026 release for their self-driving autonomous vehicles. People don't realize this, but Teslas can drive themselves. And they are now, the statistics bore out that these Tesla cars are actually driving safer than humans. Now, I'm never getting rid of my steering wheel in my car. I'm just not going to buy it. But starting in either next year, in 2027 or 2028, you're going to be able to buy steering wheelless and pedalless cars that drive themselves. And that technology is coming. Think about it. What's that going to do to your ability to go where you want to go when you want to go? What's that going to do to the trucking industry? Right now, trucks drive across America without drivers in it from California to Mississippi, and then they got to switch off when they get into Alabama. If Alabama goes driverless, then guess what? They're going to be able to go coast to coast. But let's talk about some of these key improvements over this new Tesla technology that you could be driving right next to right here in Mississippi, and you wouldn't even know it. 20% faster reaction time. So they have 8 cameras around your Tesla vehicle, and it has so many inputs per second. It's ridiculous. It's in the millions. Achieved by rewriting the AI controller and runtime from the ground up, using some new fangled system that none of us really understand. Upgraded reinforcement learning. This is the big thing. All of this drive time, they've got over 8 billion hours of drive time. And this all goes back to a central computer. So when one car learns something in Texas, another car in Utah can learn that lesson and go ahead and apply it. And they're building up this wealth of knowledge. Why? Because they're doing it all visually. They're not using an API. Smoother and more decisive parking, quicker spot selection, better maneuvering. So it's just like any 16-year-old who's you're trying to teach how to parallel park, some of us who might be 53 still don't know how to effectively parallel park. I may or may not be raising my hand. Reduced and unnecessary lane biasing and minor tailgating. Oh, that's terrible. Tesla tailgates? How many of you tailgate? Tesla's just putting in the programming to make it so it doesn't tailgate. This is not only being applied here in the United States of America, but also in select places in Europe. And I believe Denmark is one of the big countries that is going ahead and implementing this, to where if they get it approved in Denmark, it's basically going to go out to the entire EU. But here's something else if you own a Tesla that you might not know about. We were talking about compute and compute power. Most of the new Teslas, when your car is at home on the charge, your Tesla car is actually providing compute for Grok and X. It's plugged in. Your Tesla car might be generating the next Trump meme. Could happen. I say all that to say this. We cannot possibly comprehend where AI is going to go next. It's going quicker and quicker. I did something pretty scary the other day at home. Is I let AI listen to one of my radio shows, and then I asked it to do a radio show in my voice. Scary. It acts like me. It thinks like me. It understands mannerisms. It's got it all in there, including we got to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. It's got it down to a T. Where's all this computing power going to come from? Is it going to come from Madison County and our AI data centers here on Earth? Or is it going to come from data centers in space? I got a few messages, not a lot, but my SpaceX haters, everybody knows I'm a big fan of SpaceX. SpaceX blew up an engine yesterday at their test stand in McGregor, Texas. Oh, look, it's not going to work. Ladies and gentlemen, as soon as version 3 of Starship gets going, you're going to see Starlink improve 1,000-fold because we're going to be able to put up a lot more satellites. You're going to see the latency fall even quicker. For those of you who video game, you already know you can play video games over Starlink. But it's going to be that much better. And these orbiting data centers are going to start floating around the Earth in something called a Dyson sphere. If you've never heard of it, you should Google it. And the great thing about data centers in space is they don't take up space here on Earth. They don't take up water, and they don't need energy. To see some of these layouts that SpaceX and Tesla and XAI are already building are truly phenomenal. As we know, starting with NASA, being able to fold up satellites and then have the solar panels span out before they go ahead and shoot it across the solar system to go wherever it's going. They've leveraged that technology. And I'm not the first person here to try to deceive you and say, hey, I know how they're going to provide the cooling for that data center, or how if that solar panel is going to provide enough energy. But Elon says that it is. And what I would say is Elon's usually right about the technology. His timing, you gotta have a Elon factor time, somewhere between 1.7 and 3.0. So if Elon says it's going to be done in a year, 1.7 years, up to 3 years. It just depends. Elon time estimates are sometimes a little off, and he would agree with that, but he's aggressive with his timelines. And I've watched people break under his timelines. But that's not the point. The point is that it's coming. And once those floating data centers start going, what's going to happen to all the data centers here on Earth? And that's where I kind of worry a little bit about Madison County. what's going to happen to those buildings? What's going to happen to those jobs? I mean, think about it. If Tesla autonomous driving and the trucks are already out there, what's going to happen to the trucking industry? And I'm not trying to scare my truckers out there. I see one going by right now. But this is where technology is leading us. It's almost like we're in a horse and buggy to automobile type of situation, or going in from no electricity to electricity with no air conditioning to air conditioning. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show. We're going to take our last break. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Man, how the time flies when we're having fun. We're having a lot of fun. I didn't get to read some of the other stuff about the new update on the Tesla. And I know that many people don't have a Tesla, but you've got to understand how Elon and XAI, aka Grok, are building itself. And they're using Teslas to do it. Every car has at least 8 cameras. That's all being piped into to Grok. Many early testers report it feels noticeably quicker and more polished, with smoother acceleration and decelerations at stop signs and better overall decisiveness. Elon noted that point releases will add more polish, and version 15 is expected to push safety far beyond human levels, even for unsupervised used in complex situations. They did release some video out on this, and obviously video is not going to work over the radio, but literally the Tesla driving itself, a human walks out, doesn't even see the vehicle, but the vehicle saw the human, because it's not just looking in the visual spectrum that our human eye works in, but also in heat censoring, right? Different visions. And it stops and avoids the accident even sooner than the human saw it. It's absolutely incredible. The technology that's going to be coming available, we're not even truly able to comprehend it yet, which is why we got to kind of be a little bit easy on Gen Z and Gen A. Because us Xers, I will continue to say that Gen X had it best. We grew up last of the analog, first of the digital. Atari 2600 was pretty awesome back in the day. And these kids are having to put up, these kids can literally go, hey, Grok, write me a 100-page paper at the master's degree level on the superiority of air power. And in about a minute and a half, you'll have a 100-page paper on master's level dissertation on air power. Again, we are what we can consume, right, people? Are you consuming good stuff, or are you consuming bad stuff? Everybody wants to eat the Cheeto. Maybe doesn't want the apple or the grape. But you'll take that heavily processed pecan pie that's sitting up there in the cupboard. And I'm not talking to any of you. I'm talking to me. The other big thing that's happening is that XAI and SpaceX are merging together, and they're going to go public. Peter Diamandis, Steve Jurgensen, people who have brought IPOs forward before, are estimating this could be a $2 trillion company. $2 trillion. We're at 38, 39 trillion in debt. Some people think that this will be a $250 trillion company within 10 years. And I just look at how this is all fanning out and playing out, and I'm just like, my goodness. The future is bright. The future is bright, like Patrick Bet-David says. We need to hang on. We need to hold on to our core values. We need to hold on to our strong Christian traditional values that we have here in the United States. Can't let them go. You've got to fight for them every day. Appreciate y'all.